Greetings, y'all, and welcome to another episode of State of the Build. This is special because first, it's our first episode of 2022. Happy New Year to you. And second, this is starting a new phase for this series. I started this series with Peak in 2020 and have done over 30 episodes, bouncing videos back and forth from our shop to my friends and fellow YouTubers' shops. This is different because it's an in-person episode. We're here with Alex Taylor, and so the plan is for the whole coming year, we're going to be doing in-person State of the Build episodes, which makes me super happy because I love these people and I love the cars that they build, and to see them real life in person is just going to be totally different for all of us. And so I hope y'all are as excited as I am. So I'm really excited to see this car. This is actually the second time I've seen it in person. We saw it at PRI a couple months ago, and man, is it incredible. You guys did an amazing job with this car. And Dennis is over here.
No, he ran.
Oh.
He really did.
Dang it! I was gonna give him some love, but he ran away. Look at him.
He really is dead. That's the problem.
What are you doing, Gooberhead? I tried to pan the camera to you, and you were gone.
I was just going to give you a Hoosier.
I was going to give you a Hoosier.
I was just rolling out across and you caught me in the ass.
Well, I tried to pan over to you because you had front row seats to the action.
I couldn't rattle my crackers. I had to do something.
There's no replacing Dennis Taylor.
Sorry in advance.
Drive 55, put stop and say, I can't drive the 55.
Oh, perfect. My next TikTok.
He's adorable.
Can't drive the 55. Actually, you should do that about me because I've never even started this car.
You are not being serious.
No, I am serious. I've never sat in the driver's seat. I've never moved it.
What?
I don't even know how to start it. I have to have her start it.
It's true.
She hoards it. She's a hoarder.
You raised her up right, sir. I love it.
It's going to be awesome.
Everybody loves Dennis. Look how cute he is back there. We're going to talk about this car now.
Anyways,
The one you've
Okay.
never driven.
quiet on set over there.
They've been working their butts off on the off season prepping this car for the whole year of racing. You're doing a lot of these drag and drive events.
Yeah, so drag and drive used to just be like one race. Now it's like a whole season of racing, so we're picking and choosing where we're going to be doing drag and drive at. So we start early this year, February, sick week. So that's like a couple weeks from now.
You guys are getting ready to hit the road for that, and the car just came together last night, right?
Yes, we started for the first time this year, last night. So yeah.
It's amazing. So I'm excited to get a rundown on what you do on these cars in the off season. Like what comes apart, what gets replaced, what just gets studied to check, clearances, like
Make
all
sure
that
things are
stuff,
good to go.
right?
Yeah.
Let's dive in. So I'm most curious about the components that get checked versus replaced. So let's start with the power plant.
Yeah, so everybody kind of has a different plan for their program here, but what we did this year, so the car is pretty much a new car. It is. I mean, it had lots of wear and tear last year, but this engine came out of Dad's Nova. So parts of it, components of it do have a little bit longer life cycle. They've been in it a little bit longer, so I'm in the process of building a new motor, but we did pull this one apart and go through it. So everything that you see up here was out of the car, off of the car. Engine was totally apart, so we...
Down to pistons and everything?
Oh yeah, so we... Which, I mean, for other race programs, they do that, it could be every race.
Every
pass.
couple of passes,
yeah,
right.
So for us, we did it, we made it through the season, and then now we've pulled it and freshened it. So we actually wanted to up compression, so we have different pistons, and we actually had the block over at machine shop it came back a couple weeks ago. So they bored and honed and just freshened that up, checked everything, made sure it was good to go, rebalanced the crank for the new pistons. So that was totally fresh. We went through bearings, checked all those, replaced bearings, rod bolts. I wanted to get a set of rods, but lead times right now are awful, so we went with rod
Recycled
bolts.
those?
Yep. Crank's the same, but checked it all out, mic'd it, made sure everything's good to go there. New valve springs, changed those because we checked the pressure on those. They lost a little bit, and it's a good idea to change that as well. Replace the shafts on our rockers, which is not necessarily a common wear item, but we've had some situations with that, so we replaced that. Everything's checked, and then some is replaced and some is rerun for this year. So
Valve train, rotating assembly, pistons,
Mm-hmm.
everything got touched, checked, or replaced.
So as I mentioned, it's kind of an early start time this year, so some stuff that might normally go back to be serviced or checked out, we aren't this year, or haven't yet, but after Sick Week we might check into that. So turbos here, precision turbos were great last year, didn't have a ton of passes on it. We see no signs of wear and tear as of now. There's no reason to believe that anything's wrong, so leaving those as is, but if that happens to show signs of wear later, we'll send those off. And the dampener, it needs to be sent off and be serviced as well, but that'll be after Sick Week, so just working around schedules right now, so some stuff will get attention later.
And then a little ways back to the transmission, what's the scoop there?
Yeah, so as far as transmission goes, we actually did a new gear set this year, so switched over for hopefully a little bit better 60-foot times. So yeah, went to a 210 gear set, so we pulled the transmission apart and went through and checked everything. That transmission was like, had fresh clutches in it from mid race week last year, so clutches were fresh.
Mid race week,
Yeah.
one of those weeks.
deals. So clutches were fresh in it and everything, so we just pulled it apart, checked all that, replaced gear set, and then that was pretty much as far as the upgrades in there, and just checked everything, put it back together.
Okay,
All good
okay.
to go. So
Dang.
yeah.
Okay, well, should we put the car in the air and go underneath?
Look underneath?
Because whenever I first walked in the shop, the car was in the air, and I just was like a magnet. I'm like, I have to go under this car because it's a work of art underneath. I can't wait for y'all to see. I just want to stand back here and look at it. It's so pretty.
I actually, when we finished it the very first time, like I kept looking at it, I'd be trying to take a video, I was like, man, I love this car. Like I couldn't, it's like, it's so rough, but I love it.
That's the beauty of it. Like, it's got texture and character, but it's still so beautiful.
You know what, fun fact, I saw in my time hop today that 1 year ago I went and shot the intro for introducing this build. The car was downstairs, like all in a really rough state, so.
Hey, 1 year ago exactly.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And look how far you've come. Can you believe you get to drive this thing?
I know.
What?
It's so crazy, like, it's such a game changer as far as like driving goes, because it's a so much more of a race car than like my Camaro was. Like it was a street car that I raced, and this is a race car that I drive on the street. Totally different, but I love it.
It's incredible. All right, let's go underneath. We're going under. Y'all, it's nuts. So full tube chassis.
Yeah, so it's a 650 cert, so it'll cert to a 60 cert, but it's a red tag, so then you have to do yearly renewals.
So we're talking about the NHRA regulation
yeah, so
stuff.
SFI, so that's under SFI as far as that goes, but NHRA is the one that comes out and does all the checking on it, so.
We were just laughing that Alex put the car at the height that she works on it at, and I'm 5'10", so...
I didn't think about it.
Because it's like, if I stand up straight, it's like this.
Dad's always on my case because he puts it like all the way as far up, and I'm can't reach it. And then I was like, oh, you're not as short as me. You have that same issue.
So funny.
Here we are.
We love
being
it.
a trooper.
Oh my gosh, we love it. There's no other place I'd rather be than under this car with you.
Oh, no, nice.
It's awesome. Okay, so continuing on. Like, there's so much adjustability with this suspension. Did you guys figure out where you want it and then it's been there ever since, or do you tweak as you go?
So this is a 4-link setup that Dad and I built and designed. We actually set it up based on a program that Jerry Bickle has on the computer. We bought it, downloaded it, put all our numbers in and things like that, picked where we wanted our instant center to be, and went from there. And actually it's the same setup that we had when we first took it out. Now once we start going faster and working on getting in those sixes, is it going to change? To be determined. So we might have to make some adjustments later, but
wow, absolutely incredible. So what back here did you have a part between season? Was there any rear end changes?
Yeah.
Driveline stuff?
Yeah, so we pulled the third member out, put a new ring and pinion in. It's pretty noisy last year as we were on our last 2 races. When we initially set this up, we were in that super time crunch, and so we didn't actually have the right shims that we needed. And when Dad set it up, he's like, this is, it's not right, but we have to go with it kind of deal. So it made it through season. There was a lot of wear and tear. It wasn't super sharp knife edge on the gear, but there was a little wear and tear, and it was loud on decel and coast. So pulled it apart, freshened that up, put it back together, super quick and simple. And
Same configuration?
Yeah, just different shims.
With the different shims?
Yep, so same gears and all that as far as ratio. But like the other thing is like going through here, kind of touching on like chassis earlier, also in off season, it's looking like, checking wear and tear, like as far as like are there welds cracked, or
That's
there's
true.
like this. You're on super rough roads with not a lot of suspension, and so like our gas tank's cracked, on both sides, and it's just like back to back. Like,
because you actually drive this thing on the street and pull a trailer with it, which is,
very true.
I'm sure, different loads than a normal tube chassis race car would get when you put a trailer on it.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Another thing was, as far as like in-car video, if you ever see it, is like super smoky. Like when you do a burnout, tons of smoke would go in. And so working on ways this off season to like kind of seal it up a little bit better. Like it's not a car, like a tube chassis car with a shell over it, like how can we seal this up? So Dad's been going around making plates and just sealing off
And keep it light.
Yeah. So just working on.
So are a lot of those plates carbon fiber, or what material do you use whenever you start sealing stuff off?
Yeah, so all these panels like up here and the wheel tubs and stuff like that, they're carbon fiber. And then as far as like rules go, you have to have a steel floor on driver's side. So we went ahead and did the same on passenger, just so that way wear and tear, it's easier. We don't scratch.
And you've got the same weight. I would imagine the weight
that helps too. Yeah.
Be weird if you make one side a little heavier with steel floors and not.
Right. Mainly it was so like we didn't like scratch a lot of carbon fiber and hurt our feelings, but easier to step in on, yeah, so I went with that. And then as far as these other panels, like he's taking aluminum, and some of it, it's like, oh, you're still ending up with aluminum tape, but it's like, well, it works. It works for this. So yeah, going through with the aluminum.
It's the dang old race car.
Attaching it up.
So rad.
It's also kind of neat because like if you like look up, you can see into the car, because
oh my gosh, yes,
it's open transmission tunnel. Transmission's sitting in the car with me, so there'll be titanium belly pans under here, which instead of having it sealed on the top, we have it sealed on the bottom. So that's something that people are usually intrigued by.
Yeah. And so like the bell housing and everything, all of that being SFI makes it so much more real when it's right there next to you. There's no trans tunnel around it or anything.
Yep. So no, that's all open, but SFI certified bell housing and transmission.
How hot does it get in there from the trans?
So when it's like 1,000,000 degrees outside, Dad and I like melt and will. It's miserable. But normally it's not as bad as you would anticipate it being. So it's not unbearable by any means. We put 3,000 street miles on it this year, so it can't be too bad.
Okay, we've made it to the backside.
Yes.
Y'all, this car is insane. You see it in person and it's just like, it's phenomenal the way they built it. Okay, rear suspension.
Yeah, so this is drag and drive. So not only do you have like the drag race elements, you also have like street elements. So when we're on the street, we actually swap on a different set of Vicky Thompson tires that have some tread on them.
This would be slip and slide.
Yeah, we did it a couple times, not in the rain, because it's wild. But driving on a street like this. But anyways, so actually the rear end and the rear suspension was designed so that way you can get these out without cutting the quarter panels, because that's a lot of tire to get out, and the car's super low to the ground. So these have the longest QA1 shocks we could get, longest springs, so that's why that looks kind of like different than you might normally see.
It looks like a Baja truck.
Yeah, it's literally designed so we could like jack it up, and the rear end will drop enough that it allows us to get the tires out.
Wow.
So that's where that comes from. And I mean, as far as like changing slicks, we change them about every race week. We get a race week out of them. We could probably get two, but I mean, you don't want to be mid race week and need to find a set of slicks somewhere, so we just do that out of precaution.
It's a large item to carry on your trailer for replacement midway through.
Yeah, and I mean, something else, I don't even think about this, but as far as like drag and drive stuff, if you look up, that's actually our street tank up there, and we have a race tank up there, because like not only are you running race gas with methanol up there, we have a street gas up here, so just cheap pump gas. And so it's kind of interesting. These cars become a little bit heavier, they come a little bit more complicated, because you're having to have both
that versatility.
Both worlds. Yeah,
people don't calculate that.
I forget. I don't think about it. I'm like desensitized to the fact that that's not normal at this point, but it's not. It's incredible.
Holy incredible. So you usually have wheelie bars back here, right?
Yeah, so that's also not how the back of a 55 typically looks, but super low. So like I said, so the wheelie bars need clearance and all that. So we have this cut back here and long. I think they're 84-inch wheelie bars we have on there. We're actually they're heavy, so we're actually going to build some out of titanium. TMS is going to send titanium, so
of course they are.
Yeah, so after 6 weeks, we're going to lighten up wheelie bars and all that, so that's going to be nice.
Titanium wheelie bars.
There's still stuff to change, and it's like that was a new build, We saw it last year, fresh build.
Incredible. I'm so excited. I'm
It's pretty roomy over there.
climbing in.
You got room to stretch your legs. Everything.
Wow.
It's not as bad as you'd think, right?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I want a co-pilot.
You're gonna have to fight Dad over that one.
Yeah, he deserves it. He's way more than me.
So, it's not too bad as far as room goes, but we did make some changes this year. I don't think when the State of the Build was last year when it was first being built, I don't even think there was an interior, but we did actually make some changes. So like something that's not done yet, but we're gonna do is do a seat pour because safety is a big deal. So like we want to be really
Locked in.
Yeah, so we're gonna do that. Sadly, I don't think we're gonna get like a real seat pour done by then, but we're gonna do padding and stuff, ISP padding all around, so in case you're bouncing and stuff. So that's one of those things. Should have done it last year, didn't have time, life happens. So then another thing we did is, this has got my trans brake here, and bump button will be here, but I kept running into this issue where I was braking. I went through like 5 buttons last year. One of those things, didn't have time to slow down and fix it. And our friends Schroeder and Enns, who were also there, they said, oh, well, we've been doing this for years, where they take an air hose and they run their wires through it, and so it keeps them from wrapping up and breaking the buttons. So that's a huge improvement.
That's
there.
a rad hack.
Yeah, so they take us through these like roundabouts. That's an issue, but now we can turn steering wheel all day long. And then other stuff is just working on, like, I was having an issue where the cables were sliding a little bit in the back when I'd throw the chutes, like they were sliding a little bit, so we have clamps back there to tighten that down. So this will be more like a hairpin type trigger. Yeah. And then just like fun stuff, we got phone chargers in here. We've got cell phone holders. Right now we got lip gloss or chapstick holders.
This is cracking me up. You've got your charger right next to your transmission.
Yeah, this goes down the track with
gosh.
me, so we've got my phone chargers plugged in here. Right now I got chapstick holders. It's actually a cell phone holder that Dad made. We got cup holders here, built out of Billet Specialty center caps. Hand sanitizers from PRI, because that's stored stuff. But yeah, so it's like pretty neat. It's got lots of amenities. And then you got your just...
Hose clamps holding it on.
Then you got your just strictly like race car stuff where it's just a ton of wiring.
Oh my gosh.
Very utilitarian, but we gotta have some amenities.
What's the story on this guy?
So Dad's had that for literally as long as I can remember, and I don't know why. It was hanging in the Blue 55 behind us, but when we got ready to go to SEMA, he was like, it's gotta go there. And some things you just don't argue with, and so it's a fake shrunken head, and I don't know, he felt the need.
Here it is.
We put it there, and it stayed there, so it is what it is.
It is so amazing.
Yeah, so then there's like
Jeez, all this carbon fiber.
fire suppression. We have 2 10-pound fire bottles in here. This is my fire, like in the event of fire, I throw that lever. Working on different safety stuff, like gonna get, compressed air bottles, so that way, like if I was in a fire, like I could have fresh air. So just a lot of different safety stuff. Really working on upgrading that this year. I'm ready to go 6s though. Ready to do 200.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely incredible. So tell us what your goals for this year's race season are, as far as like times, or you just alluded to mile-per-hour stuff. Tell us.
Yeah, so last year we had a decently successful season.
Yeah, you won.
I know.
You kind of won race week, dude.
One race week. Placed 3rd at Drag Week and Unlimited, one race week 2.0 Unlimited, and overall. So pretty big accomplishments, but we did hit our own personal goals. So we did average 7s for each race, but our whole goal when we built this car was the quest for these 6s, because I want to go 6s. And so this year we're hoping to see that 6-second barrier knocked down, and I want to see a personal goal of 200 miles an hour. So that's on the to-do list, and then the rest is kind of like, if it happens, it happens, as far as like placing and winning and things like that. But I want to see those ETs just keep dropping, so we got a little ways.
I'm certain we'll see it. I'm certain we'll see it. Well, you guys have done an incredible job. I sort of wish we'd been here to see the car in pieces, because that would have been cool to see too, but you guys are also super huge hustlers, and you got it together, and now it's ready to go. and it's amazing. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for taking the time
Thank you for
to
coming.
shoot this episode. You guys, please tell us your thoughts. We can't wait to read the comments. Your support and encouragement means everything to us. We are so grateful to create content around what we love doing for you guys. So y'all's support means everything. And we're so happy you're here. So liking and subscribing, all that good stuff. Share this episode. You know what to do. We'll see y'all next time.